Hello, everybody. Welcome to another kind of random ass Sunday fun day. And I know it seems weird to talk about this since I know Megan and me never actually originally talked about the original film, or at least the first movie, I should say. But I decided, what the hell? Let's go ahead and dive into Netflix's seemingly love of romantic comedies, teenage romantic comedies at that, because I decided to watch The Kissing Booth 2.
Something or someone changes and makes me question everything.
Help!
Oh boy.
I know I should probably have actually done the actual review of the first movie. I didn't care, and at the time it was also a lot harder for me to be able to consistently watch movies thanks to screwy schedules and long schedules thanks to work. But I decided to say, fuck it, I'm going to go ahead and dive right into this. Figure out what the hell is going on. Why is this kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, it's kind of a reviled genre for, because they're cheaply made, they're very quickly made as well. They're pretty much Lifetime movies, is from the major consensus I've heard. And sure, I have watched at least two before. Tall Girl being one of them, which I absolutely did not like at all. I detested throughout most of it. And then, of course, I want to say it's All the Bright Places. I want to say that's what it was called. The film about the suicidal girl who was going through things, and then it turns out, oh no, she just had to have a guy love her, and then suddenly, he has problems. He killed himself. I don't know. Still uncertain with that film. But hey, this is actually a sequel that's more meant to be aimed towards comedy and more meant to be aimed toward teenagers. So why not have a over 30-year-old actually review it? I will say, this film, it actually does a pretty good way throughout the first 15, 20 minutes or so of explaining what happened in the first movie. And hey, that's good for those of us who have not watched it, or the only way I've actually seen anything of it was watching reviews of it where I was like, alright, well, this is totally not really for me. It's just not my kind of movie. And on top of that, it just looked kind of lame, for lack of a better way to describe it. And yeah, The Kissing Booth 2 is really lame. There is some attempts to try and make this a little bit more got an edge to it than you would normally see from, for lack of a better way to put it, Disney films. This is pretty much the Lizzie McGuire movie with, harsher language. And that's the best thing I could say about it, is that technically there is more of an edge, but that's thanks to things such as heavier language. Like, they use shit sometimes. Scandalous. And they straight up do mention, sex and stuff like that, and characters tend to kiss quite often on this. In fact, the entire premise of the first movie was a kissing booth that was going to make the main characters, Rachel and Lee, get the money for stuff and they can be famous and things. I don't know. And honestly, the biggest issue with this movie, it's not that the acting is terrible. The acting is all passable. None of it is ever bad. It is all just okay. There's some stilted dialogue, not a ton. There's very, it's very by the numbers. The problem is this is an hour and a half long plot stretched into nearly 2 hours and 20 minutes. This movie is very fucking long for what it's supposed to be. Realistically, those who want a quick rundown of the plot, Rachel and Noah, from the first movie, they happen to still be in love, and Noah's going to Harvard. Rachel's still in high school, and she's trying to get into Berkeley with her best friend Lee. Well, shenanigans, stuff happens. There's a new hot kid there who Rachel kind of crushes on, and stuff happens between her and Noah that makes them break up for a while, or seemingly break up. And then they get back together by the end of the movie. And also Lee and his girlfriend, who I can't remember her name. I honestly am sort of drawing a blank on her name. Is her name Rachel too? I can't remember. But that's how unmemorable she is. She just kind of exists. She is something for Lee to love. And there's not really a reason he loves her except for the fact that, oh, she's sweet, but she also has issues with the fact that Rachel and Lee are very close friends. And it's... The best way to put it is it's very much that he has to choose either if it's bros before hoes or not. Because straight up Rachel and Lee, they're bros, they're very much really good friends, and he has to decide, it's like, well, is the pussy more important than my friend? It's lame. And from there, that seems like a plot that could easily be resolved and taken care of in about an hour and a half. I would not particularly like it. Kids would like it, teenagers would like it, young adults might like it. Nobody else is going to give two fucking shits about it. But it would be fine, it would be passable, and we'd all forget about it. This movie at 2 hours and literally 14 minutes is a sit. Like, it is really just spinning its wheels throughout most of the film. Like, there is a big deal that Rachel needs to get money so that way she can go to college because her dad doesn't really make that much money, even though she goes to obviously a private school. And it's like, well, why? What? It's like, why does this need to be a subplot? And it's only kind of a subplot to try and push together this whole narrative between her and this new kid, Marco, who he is, admittedly, is a very, attractive guy. He is, though, Jacob from Twilight. He's just an attractive guy for her to be slightly distracted with till she realizes by the end, oh, I don't want to be with you, even though she, kisses him at one point, and it's like, why did you kiss him then? And a lot of this constantly, all the issues from this entire movie all stem from the same problem. Nobody fucking talks to each other. The reason why Rachel doesn't understand why Lee's girlfriend's upset about them spending a lot of time together is because Lee never really explains this. Though his girlfriend does explain it to him. The reason why Noah and Rachel have issues is because Rachel thinks that Noah's cheating on her, but she doesn't even bother to say anything to him about it at the time whenever she does find an earring and also some slightly scandalous messages. Not like she was sending pictures of her bush or something. It's weird shit like that, and not only that, but the fact that it takes till the end of the movie for Noah to finally just tell Rachel, it's like, yeah, the reason why Chloe, or actually Noah doesn't even say it, it takes Chloe, this new girl that supposedly Noah's sleeping with, it takes her to say, no, the reason why he, didn't tell you about it is because he was kind of embarrassed, but I'm kind of just his really good friend. It's more than anything, I'm kind of like you are with Lee, with Noah. If that makes any sense to humans, because my speech patterns are bizarre. And it's okay, so why did Noah never bother to just say something like that? Or just say, it's yeah, I had some issues, but she was actually a really good friend who was there for me. We don't have any kind of romantic ones or anything like that. It's just, we're just friends. We're really good friends. Cool, leave it at fucking that. I don't know why all these characters cannot be bothered to say shit to each other. It's we have all these manners in which we can communicate with each other, but the biggest problem always with these type of movies, these teen romance movies, is that people can't be bothered to fucking talk to each other. They're they can communicate through Instagram, Facebook messaging, in fucking text. Calling somebody. I know that's a weird thing to do on your fucking phone, it seems. But holy shit, why is it you have all these forms of being able to communicate with somebody, yet you can't use one of them to express yourself, to give your semblance of what the idea of what's happening needs to be? And honestly, it's like I said, when I say it spins its wheels, like the plot really does not move forward for a good 30, nearly 45 minutes. And if that sounds enticing as hell to you, have at it. This movie just, it is really, really a sit to go through. You have just a whole lack of characters bothering to actually speak with each other. So you have character motivations that constantly seem to fly in the face of how normal human beings would talk or deal with one another. And then on top of everything, you also have this wonderful issue in the fact that half these characters are kind of dickheads. Thanks? Like, realistically, the big issue with, like, Lee and his girlfriend is the fact that she is jealous of the relationship that Lee has with Rachel. Okay, she doesn't bother to actually say something about this, or even approach him and say, hey, I'm not trying to be that person, but it's like, I'm just pretty much the third wheel whenever y'all two are together. It's like, do you think, I could steal him for some time? Pretty sure if Rachel's a good friend, she's like, yeah, that's cool. It's cool, man, We'll just, every now and then say a little for me. But no, we can't have that. We have to have constantly this, like, people just have to be mad, and then the other person's go, what are you mad about? It drives a stupid stereotype and trope that guys just don't listen. Ugh. It's like, well, yeah, sometimes guys don't listen because we aren't told anything. I'm not saying that should give guys an out, but fuck, there's sometimes whenever you don't say shit to us, we're gonna fucking get it. Fully admit that I'm stupid, but I'll admit that if you're gonna get mad at me for something that you're not willing to say you're not willing to say something to me, I don't know what the hell you're expecting to have happen there. It's just, there's a lot about this movie that should be okay. Like I said, like the actors are cute together sometimes. Mind you, really, Noah is kind of a wet blanket. He's arguably the worst actor out of the main cast. And it's kind of bad because it's like, okay, we have such a mediocre actor as, the main guy. And I don't know why Rachel really cares about him as much. Sure, that's probably something that was went over a lot more in the first movie. But he doesn't show any examples of why she should still be with him. He hasn't grown as a person despite going to college. In fact, he's become more reserved, more unwilling to speak with Rachel about problems. That is an issue that is going to quickly just become a big problem the more and more they are together. Like constantly, this movie wants to keep bringing up about love and like and shit like that, but it can't be bothered to actually give us a reason why she actually really loves him. Beyond the fact, he's hot. He's kind of a dumbass. He's quick to anger. And on top of everything, he's not super attractive. Honestly, the Jacob of this movie is a lot more attractive. His name's actually Marco. So, I'm kind of confused here. I'm like, well, why? Hell, the Jacob of this movie, he's got more personality. He's like, he seems to be more introspective. He actually sits there and thinks about things. Sure, he doesn't have much of an idea for what he wants to do in life, but he's like, I'm just going to go with the flow and just let that be it. Why is this a bad thing? Why should I have a problem with this guy? Why should I want her to be with Noah? The movie never bothers to explain this. In fact, by the time it eventually reveals, like, oh, Chloe's just really good friends, Noah has not acted like they're really good friends. He's acted actively weird with it. Like, he wants it to be more, and it's like, okay, I kind of get Rachel's point of, he might be cheating on me. Well, yeah, because he acts awkward whenever they're two are together. He doesn't just say it's like, oh, like whenever they first meet, he doesn't go, this is Chloe. Chloe actually introduced me to a lot of these guys, around. And she kind of showed me around. She actually helped me out, whenever I first got here, when I was kind of struggling a bit. No, he just, oh, this is Chloe. That's it. It's like, what the fuck, guy? You cannot sit there and introduce your high school girlfriend to this hot, obviously nearly or 30-year-old woman who is somehow still in college and is not a doctor, strange enough, and think that, oh, it's all cool. My obviously maybe a little over 20-year-old girlfriend is going to get a little jealous of his much older woman, especially who seems to be quite a bit more experienced. It's this movie constantly has issues with the fact that the writing has to make all these characters very dumb. They have to either ignore what our characters are saying, not listen to other characters, or just actively refuse to actually communicate like a normal human being would, just so sometimes plot points can move forward. I don't care about this. This is, like I said, we're just wading into water. We're just sitting here, just spinning around, waiting until something happens. It doesn't make for an interesting movie. It doesn't make for a fun film to sit there. It actually makes for a real painful movie to try and watch. Again, it does not help it's so damn long. Like, this should be an hour and a half. No longer. And it's nearly 50 minutes longer than that. What the absolute fuck? Like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, there's so much here that could be cut out. Like, they're supposed to be these mean girls that are kind of like dickheads, but they just more kind of gossipy. It's like, I get they were in the first movie. They don't have a purpose in this movie, though. They can be completely cut out. They're superfluous to the entire plot here. I don't need these three not mean girl bitches. They don't add anything. Take them out, please. Hell, there's an entire sequence where Rachel first sees Marco's body because he's working out, and it's got to be this whole big long spiel about her accidentally hitting this thing to where people will be able to hear her throughout the entire school talking about his hot bod, and it's so overtly long. Like, realistically, it should have just been like maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes. It's 5 fucking minutes long. It just begins to wear you down where you're like, I don't care. And by the time you get to the end of it all, that's how you feel. You're like, I just don't give a shit. I don't care about any of this. I don't care about these characters. I don't care about any of their situations. I just don't care. I want this all to be done with. And that shouldn't be the way you should be approaching movies. You should be able to approach it like, I want to see what's going to happen next. What's going to happen with these characters next? Instead, you're just like, I hope it all fucking ends soon. Oh, God. This fucking movie, I swear. Ugh. I guess eventually I need to give some kind of a score for this, and it feels really shitty, but sometimes it almost feels like I'm being nice to it. I guess I give it a 2. It's not the worst. I will give it that much. Which I know technically I gave Tall Girl 2, but that's because it hit an emotional resonance at the end that I actually almost kind of felt a little dull for, even though I saw it kind of coming a mile away. Here, the problem is none of this should be as bad as it is. It should be at worst just a passable film. But because of its overt length, and also because none of the characters can be bothered just to say something, simply situations happen because the characters can't be bothered to fucking talk to one another, despite all the lines of communication they have with each other. It ends up making a very muddled film. It makes this entire film just feel so god damn long. Like, it feels every second of its length, and I hate to harp on the same fact, but because of that length, and because of the fact that the movie just spins its wheels, it just sits there and just, we're just gonna waste time, because that's the best way to do this. I just can't give a shit about it. By the time I got to the end, I was like, I don't care what happens to these characters. I don't care what happens to Noah. I don't care what happens to Rachel. I don't care what happens to Lee. And that's another issue, that the end of this fucking movie has to wrap up all these plot lines at the end, because we have to deal with Lee's shit. We have to deal with this other character. His name's Ollie, who happens to be gay and is crushing on this one guy. Cool, whoop-de-doo. His subplot doesn't ultimately lead anywhere. It's brought up twice at one time. Or I'm sorry, it's brought up 3 times. I will take that back. It's brought up 3 times. But once is just a minor mention. Another time is whenever he actually does mention it. And maybe it was because his character's wasn't supposed to be gay or anything. But his friends and all that seemed fine, or seemed open to it. So I don't know why he was freaked out about the fact that, oh, well, I'm confessing I like this guy. So, fuck it. Kiss him. Suck his dick. Have him suck your dick. I don't care. Or, it's like, who fucking cares this day and age? Fucking be gay. Be happy. But yeah, you have that needs to be resolved. You have Chloe that needs to be resolved. You have the shit between Lee and Rachel that needs to be resolved. You have the shit between Lee and his girlfriend, like I said earlier. You have the shit between Marco and Rachel. You have the shit between Rachel and Noah. All this shit has to be resolved in the last bit of the movie. So because that's just resolution of all these different plot lines, but none of it feels natural. All of it feels so artificial, so fake, that obviously this was written by somebody who was just trying to write a quick novel to make a quick buck, which is exactly what this feels like. And yes, I do know this is based on a story, or on a young adult novel. Oh, fuck this movie. Like, I would want to give this a 1. It seems as much anger as I have about this, I would give this a 1, but it's just because I guess I hold this up a little bit higher because the characters are not the worst human beings, except Noah. Like, I like the actors. I think they're cute. I think they do some good things here and there. I didn't laugh all that goddamn much, but I did chuckle a couple of times at least. This isn't some of those other teen romance movies where I was like, I need a 45 in my head. But this is such a long film to try and sit through and trying to figure your way out through it, because it's so fucking lame at times. Like, when this movie is hitting on all cylinders properly, which it only does very briefly, it's good. It's a watchable flick. There's nothing unique about it, but it's good. But when it is completely sputtering, it is just unbearable nearly. Like, you really sit there and you're just like, I don't have any idea why I should care about this. Why should I be watching the story? What is interesting about this? Puh. Just fucking skip this. There's not a good reason to watch The Kissing Booth 2 unless you're just like a huge glutton for just these crappy teenage romance movies. And even then, there's so many other movies that have done this kind of story better before. Hell, this is pretty much Road Trip. This is, what's that one movie I was just thinking of like 5 seconds ago? Hell, you can watch the American Pie sequels. Similar ideas are thrown throughout this. And it's just so tiring. And ultimately, that's the thing. It's like, it's a boring movie. Yeah. But hey, that's my opinion on Kissing Booth 2. It's... to call it bad seems to be nice. if you liked it, let me know about down below. Let me see tell me what you liked about the movie or plot or anything like that. Shoot me a little message or anything like that. But hey, until then, I will see you all later with whatever the hell else happens to be on that Mega Me you're gonna catch. So until then, see y'all later. So bye bye, everybody.